Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. And I would like to commend Senator Van for bringing this motion to the Senate today. I think most of us in this place know we've had for a while, I think we've had 7 goes at Transmission Tuesday, where we've tried to get an inquiry across the transmission lines and where they're going, and particularly around the impacted communities, farmers, farmland that will be overtaken by these power lines through their properties, devaluing their properties. We also know that there will be Indigenous cultural heritage sites that are impacted, and that those sites have absolutely no regard for those people who were apparently proponents for an Indigenous voice to Parliament, but not an Indigenous voice around cultural heritage sites when it comes to transmission lines. But we also know, and particularly from the Greens, who have also opposed our Transmission Tuesday inquiry, you know, the koalas. How much can a koala bear? Well, we know a koala bear can't handle a transmission line through its habitat. They cannot handle transmission lines going straight through koala habitat. We know, feeling like this is a bit of a theme today, but we know that the only chlamydia-free koala habitat, don't worry about that, transmission line straight through the middle of it. Don't worry about an STD, we're going to get rid of you with a transmission line. You're chlamydia-free, but you won't be alive for much longer anyway, thanks to the transmission lines that this government is determined to ram through and across and over every single community it can find, but of course only those in rural and regional Australia, because they wouldn't dare. The NIMBYs, you know, the NIMBYs, they all want the renewable energy, but oh, don't please put a battery in my backyard. We've seen that in the Teals seats, in Waverley, in North Sydney. No, 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 we can't have a battery covered in Indigenous art, in a park, out of the way, out of sight. You know, they all went teal because they're climate people. They're all so concerned about climate change. But please don't upset the amenity of my suburb with anything so abhorrent as one battery, let alone what the poor people in rural and regional Australia are going to have to go through with eyesores of transmission lines going right through their communities, right through their farms, contributing to bushfire issues. You know, Senator Van talked about, and I know he's very well aware through his inquiry work, of the danger that transmission lines pose when it comes to bushfires. We're headed into a really hot summer. Everyone's saying it. It's going to be really hot. I mean, no one will be able to afford with the power bills to put their aircon on, but we're going to know that we're going to face more issues when it comes to transmission lines and blackouts and bushfires. But again, the bushfires don't really impact those that live in Potts Point. They don't really impact anyone who lives in Claremont. They don't live anyone who lives, you know, perhaps in Glenelg. They don't upset them. Bushfires don't affect them. Sometimes it gets a bit smoggy. The air's not great as the bushfire comes over, and, you know, the air quality can decline. But it's not your home that's in the firing line. It's not your you know, earning capacity that's in the firing line. It's the farmers. It's those in rural and regional Australia who are directly impacted by these threats. So, Senator Van, I would like to thank you for bringing this motion to us. And whilst we're now into Transmission Thursday, maybe this will become a regular thing. It should become a regular thing, because I can guarantee it, for all those excited, Transmission Tuesday will be coming back. T-shirts are on order. The T-shirts are on order. Transmission Tuesday. And we might have to update it. We might just get a little TT. We'll get a nice logo made, TT, so we can run them out for Transmission Thursday as well. We've got a double usage. Look at us recycling going, you know, we're so conscious on this side of making sure we get maximum value with a TT on our T-shirts or our buttons for Transmission Tuesday, Transmission Thursday. But I did note in your comments, Senator Van, you talked about, through you, Acting Deputy President, that you talked about you now as an independent can talk about issues without having to necessarily put a political lens through them or over them. And, you know, I hope perhaps as an independent, Senator Van, you may have more luck working with your fellow crossbenchers, Senator Pocock, with your fellow crossbenchers who sit up in the, you know, on my far left, in more ways than one. But when they sit up in the far left, perhaps you can work with them, and maybe you can even convince the Labor Party, because, you know, they're probably going to want your vote on a few things. Maybe you can have a little word with them and say, we'd really like an inquiry into these transmission lines. I'm really concerned about what's happening with these transmission lines powering through communities, upsetting rural and regional communities all across this nation, all except for WA. Sorry, Senator Smith, you know, I think WA, you've got your own thing going on over there. you know, all the other states on the eastern seaboard that are going to be impacted by these transmission lines. And you are right when you say the $100 billion, which I think is probably an undersell of the figure, the $100 billion is for transmission lines over the top of the land, where we know if they were underground it'd be much safer from a bushfire perspective, would look prettier, and may not upset as much arable farmland. But, you know, the $100 billion, lowballing the figure, is only delivering transmission lines. It's not delivering, as you say, any storage. It's not generating anything. So think about all the costs that's going to be required to actually generate the power that's got to go in these new transmission lines. No one's thinking about that. No one's talking about any of those sorts of things. So, Senator Van, I do wish you luck. I wish you luck, and as an independent who doesn't need to put a political lens of things, who every now and then your vote may be required or requested from a certain side of a chamber, perhaps you, with all of your powers of persuasion and negotiation skills and your keen understanding of what the energy needs of this country are, how the energy sector works. I know Senator Van has a history working in this sector, unlike probably many that sit on the other side would have ever experienced, let alone been on a farm, or actually a business, you know, working in a business. Yeah, it's... in fact, I was interested to learn the other day, Senator Chisholm apparently worked for Santos. Now, I'm sure it was a union delegate role, but he did work for a company that has a bottom line and a board and doesn't just recycle through union reps. So there is one that sits opposite that's actually worked for a business that's concerned about generating a profit, and in the energy space. So perhaps Senator Chisholm could speak to his mates too. But Senator Van, I wish you all the luck trying to get some inquiries, some movements, some acknowledgement that Australian communities, particularly those in rural and regional areas, deserve to be listened to, they deserve to be heard, and they deserve to hear their concerns raised. The social licence doesn't exist for this program, and it is about time that this government put its big boy pants on and went out and spoke to these communities and heard what they had to say. Hear, hear.